There are cars, there are important cars, and then there is the Citroen C3, which is going to be the bread, butter and jam for the French automaker. Although the C5 is a phenomenal product which I can vouch on, it could not set the sales chart on fire because not everybody is fortunate to start off with flying colors in a premium segment in a country like India. With a staggering localization levels of 90% and with over 2.5 million kilometers tested on this car, this has a big responsibility to shoulder. But in a cutthroat competitive market like India, especially in the entry level hatchback segment, this journey is not going to be easy for this car. But how good of an attempt is it from Citroen? We are here in this beautiful state Goa to find it out. Citroen makes the most quirkiest design in the country. Now that quirkiness can fall on both the ends of the spectrum. Some might like it, some might find it pretty polarizing. But I honestly loved the design of this C5 Aircross. It was so damn distinctive, and in fact when we drove that car from Calicut to Goa a few months ago, there were people who were staring at it and who came to us and asked about that car. And that same cues have been carried over here. Not in terms of the features and all, but in terms of the design elements that are present. Firstly, you do get bare basic essentials in the exteriors of this car, which strongly hint that the pricing of this car is going to be fairly aggressive when the car launches on 20th July, for which you'll have to wait quite a bit. Starting off with the exteriors, you get something called as twin DRLs. Because single DRLs are too mainstream, you get twin LED DRLs that complement the sportiness of this quirky car. Halogen headlamps in 2022? Well, most of the people might prefer the LED headlamps for the sake of it. Trust me, there are some cases where halogens are brighter than the LEDs. For example, the halogens of Thar make much more sense than the LEDs of MG Hector, just as a comparison. अगर LED headlamps नहीं है तो fog lamps कहाँ से LED होंगे? You get halogen old school fog lamps, which are fine. And then you have lot of quirky elements in this car, starting off with this orange palette surrounding the fog lamps for the turbocharged variant, which is very cool in my opinion. And then we have this thick silver cladding that tries very hardly to give you that butchy and compact SUV-ish look. And honestly, I feel that this is more of a raised hatchback than a compact SUV. Every hatchback with a higher ground clearance does not necessarily mean it's an SUV. SUVs are a different ballgame altogether. And then there is this double chevron Citroen logo which is housed in the center. If there is something that I absolutely loved in the C3 exteriors, it is the orange complementary roof with the white color, which looks so damn uber cool. In my humble opinion, this shade, this combination goes the best with this C3. People might still be okay with your car getting halogen headlamps. People might still be okay with your car not getting a reverse camera by default, but there's going to be a concern in the market when people check out this C3 that does not get alloy wheels as standard, which runs on steel rims. Mind you, alloy wheels are available as an accessory just in case you wish to opt for it. But I really wish that Citroen had emphasized on that bit here. But the blessing in disguise being that this car could be very competitively priced. अभी तक तो पता चल गया होगा आपको कि the C3 does not get a reverse camera as standard, but that said, you get 2 parking sensors, not 4, you get just 2 parking sensors that should help you with that minimal aid in taking this compact SUV, wait a second, a hatchback reverse. Interiors play a very important role in deciding a car, and just like the quirky exteriors of the C3, the same quirkiness has been Carried over to the interiors as well, there are many elements like especially these AC vents and these vents here, which remind you that this is a modernly designed car. So starting off with, you get this 10-inch infotainment system here, and the responsiveness of which is fairly decent. I won't say that it's the most responsive screen of all. There is some resistance, very minute, but that said, it's pretty user friendly and easy to use. There are a lot of controls here. More importantly, it gets wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which some of the cars costing probably say 6 times to 7 times more do not get it, which is something very appreciable because it's a matter of convenience, and that's very, very convenient. So one of the biggest questions that someone would have is about the quality of plastics inside the car, and I'm actually happy to tell that it's good. Of course, when I'm talking about good, it defines that it's good according to that particular price bracket that this car belongs to, and not something costing over $1 million. I mean, when you compare this to the rivals, the direct rivals like say Magnite or of course the Quid, that's where this car excels in this department. That said, there are some knobs like for example the AC knobs here, which feel slightly finicky and they could have been built better. And then you get a couple of charging ports here, and there are cup holders here, and I absolutely loved the gearbox knob design. It's actually very easy to use, it grips your hand perfectly, and you can slot the gears easily from here. And you get the handbrake here, which is a manual handbrake, but there are some very evident cost cutting angles here in the car, like for example the non-adjustable headrest here. Citroen, being a brand which is focused on having comfortable cars, should have given an option of having an adjustable headrest in the seats. That said, of course you do not get the sunroof in this car, and if there's something else that I really liked is the seats offer a very commanding position from here, especially when the seat height is raised to the maximum levels. However, there are some features that Citroen shouldn't have skimmed on, that is providing electrically adjustable ORVMs, especially when you're talking about top of the line variant for any car. Adjusting the mirrors manually like this is not so 2022-ish thing. There's a digital instrument cluster here, but an absence of tachometer is going to leave the enthusiast disappointed even in the top-end turbocharged variant of the C3. So once you move to the rear of the C3, first thing that you realize is the space is good enough for two people. There's ample leg room, the headroom is actually good, the underthigh support is decent as well. However, the seats are slightly firm and they're not as good as the one we have in C5, which is an absolute benchmark. That's it, the headrests are not adjustable, which Citroen had done something about it to enhance the comfort and feeling of the car. But if there's something that would be slightly bothering to people is the placement of the power window switches. The French ergonomics come into place here. You'll have to operate the power window switches from here, the center, and not here, which would have been much more convenient. That said, you get the grab handles here, and there's a seat belt here for the safety needs. Last but not the least, you get two charging ports here, which should add to the convenience. First things first, this engine gets a 6-speed gearbox while the other engine gets a 5-speed gearbox. And talking about the gear shifts are actually surprisingly nice and smooth. The gears don't feel notchy by any means, especially when you're talking about a hatchback segment. And what's also nicer is the travel of the clutch isn't very long, and the clutch is lighter. However, I would have preferred that the clutch was further lighter, making it more convenient for you to drive the C3 inside the city. The clutch is slightly, I repeat, it's slightly on the heavier side. The steering is kind of artificial and it feels slightly lifeless up to speeds of 50 km/h. It's post that, or say it's post 70 kmph, when the steering starts to get the life in it and the additional weight that is very much needed. This is the horn of the car, and of course this being a budget segment does not get a wind-on horn, and you'll have to go away with the normal horn, which is found in most of the other cars. I would have loved if there was a 4-cylinder engine option available in this C3, because end of the day 4th cylinder makes the car much more refined apart from having many other advantages. The power delivery is actually good. The low range has a decent start. I'm not sure about the RPM levels because surprisingly you do not get a tachometer here in this car in 2022, which is shockingly omitted. but if there's something to nitpick about, it's that the brake feels spongy in the first half of the travel, thereby diluting the braking confidence. This is the 1.2 liter engine that produces 82 PS of power, and this is a naturally aspirated engine. It's quite evident that it's a 3-cylinder engine because yes, there is noise that is produced here, which is very evident. We just got here from the turbocharged engine, which was actually much better than this. So if you happen to pick the C3, I would strongly recommend that you pick the turbocharged variant or the NA counterpart. That's because it's a different league altogether. There's no comparison at all. It's much better, it's nicer. It makes you feel very engaged when you're driving the car.
The ride quality is smooth enough, but over bigger bumps it does feel like little bouncy. In case you are having some seriously high expectations from the C3, just like the legendary magic carpet ride of C5, you will be disappointed slightly. However, it's definitely on par with the rivals and there's really nothing much to complain. That's also reflected when you're cornering. Take one at good speeds and there is a fair amount of body roll, meaning the car's natural reaction is to lift off when you push it hard through some sharp corners. After all, the hatch isn't meant for serious cornering. Because of its slightly soft suspension, the Citroen C3 feels slightly old-fashioned to drive than its sharp look would suggest.
India is a very price sensitive market, and this car has a major responsibility to shoulder for Citroen's future in India, because if this car doesn't sell, nothing else will sell for Citroen. And talking about this car in particular, there are many good things about it. For example, the design looks quirky, has a really good turbocharged engine, the gearbox is good, 6-speed gearbox, punchy gears, good space, and a lot of other things. However, there are some significant cost cutting measures. Now, the blessing in disguise could be that this could also indicate that this car is going to be competitively priced amongst its rivals. In fact, I personally believe that it's going to undercut many of its straight direct head-on rivals. That's because Citroen needs it. Citroen needs that fire right now, where they want to pump into the mainstream market in India, and that's only and only possible by cars like these, unlike the premium cars like C5. That said, you will have to wait till 20th July. That's when the prices of this car are going to be revealed, and that could be the most important and historic day in the calendar of this French automaker. That said, if you guys like the video, do not forget to subscribe to our channel and follow us on Instagram. Stay tuned and drive safe.